Welcome everyone to halfway through lap 1 of the ANZCAR Monday Night Truck Series, brought to us by 131 WebRadio from Michigan International Speedway. So because of the late start that we've had tonight, we're not going to run through the starting grid or anything like that, because it's all changed at the front of the field anyway. But I will introduce my co-commentator for tonight, James Foster. James, how you going?
Good, mate. Hopefully have a good race tonight and everyone stays clean. We get plenty of good clean racing for the whole race.
Well, it's looking that way at the moment, isn't it? We've seen a little bit throughout practice of these guys sort of running around, and there haven't really been too many incidents, and I guess that's fairly indicative of the way Michigan is, being quite a long, fast circuit with lots of runoff and nice and wide and everything like that. So we're actually just looking up and down the field at the moment. Jason Martin is your leader, with Matty Klert sitting there in second place, with Ryan Jones in third. But as everybody sorts themselves out now, we are into lap 2, just crossing the line to begin lap 3. Everyone's just kind of sorting themselves out, getting in position, and not running, not really fighting at each other too hard, which is probably exactly what you want and probably the smart way to approach this race. So you'd expect that, I suppose, of a few of the more experienced guys that we've got there in the field, but we've got a few newcomers in there as well, so it'll be interesting to see how they fare tonight.
Yeah, the experienced guys know, especially early on in the race, you've got someone like Martin with a lot of pace. You can easily fall into the trap of trying to stay with him. But that's the worst thing you can do. As long as you can look after your tyres and keep them in sight, there's most likely going to be a caution and you're going to be right there with them again. So these early stages are all about just looking after your tyres and looking after your race position.
Yeah, absolutely, certainly is. So just having a little bit of a look back at there's a battle going on between Kyle Stevens and Brett Douglas as well. These guys are just running a little bit close together, a little bit further back in the pack at the moment, just on the outside edge of that top 10. And just keeping an eye on your championship leaders as well, we've got Chris Purnell. He's sat there, he's 2 from 2 at the start of this season already. Had 2 wins from the 2 starts we've had, and he's sitting back there at the moment in 6th position. And then we've got Jackson Callow, who's finished just behind him in every race so far this season, both of those. He's sitting there in 7th place, so he'll be looking to move his way up as well. Other guys to keep an eye on just up and down the field, we've got Matt Danson. He's back there in 24th at the moment. Gav Sadler just in front of him in 23rd. You'd be probably looking for those guys to actually start making some inroads up through the field as well as this race goes on.
Yeah, well, both of those guys are like the ones we've mentioned. They've got the experience. They know that this race will come to them, and you'll find Chris Purnell will probably have the pace to move forward. But if he goes all out too early, he'll find himself under pressure from the cars behind and potentially more in line to be in an accident.
Well, that's one thing that just sort of looking at Chris, the way he seems to be approaching things at the moment anyway, just sitting in there just close behind Jaeger at the moment. He's not looking massively racy, like he's trying to push up and get an overtaking move done straight away, and I think that's probably the best way to play it. We have got 70 laps here tonight, so it's going to be a decent length race at the very least. It's really not going to be something where, I mean, he's in an advantageous position anyway because he's got a championship lead to protect, so he can actually afford to just, I guess, monitor that gap, whereas some of the others, Callow, Martin, etc., really need to get some winning done sooner rather than later.
Big, like further back in the field there, you can see Douglas actually with his 2 teammates from Alliance. He's in a position that you don't want to be in, and that's in a bit of a scrap early on in the race, because he'll be finding he's having to change his line repetitively and defend. And you know, that's the sort of thing that you want to try to avoid early on. You just want to stay out of trouble and stay in contact with Martin if possible at that point. Martin's still edging away from the field, and he's got Clowett behind. It's one of those times that you're going to have to just make sure you stay with him and not overdrive the car, because he's very, very good at looking after his tyres and extending the lead. Like, it can be quite frustrating for the other guys, but they just have to be patient.
Yeah, they absolutely do. So just keeping an eye on some of those guys as well. We've got Jason Williams back there. He's in the 15th position at the moment. Is he in 15th? He is 15th place at the moment. And Jason Williams has been mighty impressive so far this season. He's sitting right up there in the points as well. It is very early on in his ANZCAR career, and he's actually just penned a deal recently with Riley Curtis Designs to actually join up with that squad and have a run with them. So it'll be interesting to see what he's able to accomplish now that he's got a little bit of support of a team behind him as well, whether that actually sees any kind of change in his results, which have been pretty good already, to be honest.
Also, Matt Danson, who started from the back, I don't even think he bothered to qualify, but it's probably a tactic just to stay out of trouble or give himself a bit of a challenge, but he's been making some progress. He's up to 21st.
Yeah, he's making some steady progress. He was 23rd when we checked on him last time, having moved up only a couple of positions, but he is working away on Nicholas Walsh there, and looks like he's going to get that move done down the inside to move up inside the top 20. And I think he's probably just going to look to pick them off one by one. That's the way that he normally drives when he is starting a little bit lower down. He prefers to let everyone get a bit strung out and then pick them off as he goes, because he's normally got the pace to actually do that and run those guys down. But back at the front, Jason Martin out there with a 1.7 second lead now over Ryan Jones. And Ryan's actually doing pretty well. He's another guy who's relatively new to ANZCAR, and he's going quite well up there in second place at the moment. I don't think even he expected to be up this high, being the first truck behind Martin, but it's certainly going to be a great result for him if he manages to finish there or thereabouts. We are under caution. So just having a look at who might have brought that one out. Not able to see anybody majorly obvious at the moment.
No, I haven't caught anything yet.
Okay. Looks like Nick Walsh in the 22 might have been involved in that. Can't see too much in the way. He does have a bit of damage here on the truck, but I can't see exactly what's taken place to cause that, but he's definitely carrying a bit of damage on the front end of that Toyota Tundra. Alright, so that is going to bring us all back under caution now and close those gaps right back up, and we'll just imagine that we'll see Jason Martin coming straight for the pit lane. I imagine most of the guys will follow him. 11 laps. The tyre drop-off hasn't been massive around here. Just keeping an eye on the way that people have been running throughout practice. They haven't got a huge amount of drop-off, but certainly the performance edge has come off those tyres now. So I don't think there's any disadvantage for everyone to dive to the lane. Jason certainly looks as though he's heading that way, although he is known for his last-minute dives out of the pits. But no, he's going to come down the lane and he is going to bring everybody with him. Hasn't really had in this series so far a very good pit stop that I can remember, so he's almost managed to lose positions every single time. So we'll see what actually takes place here when he does come to the lane, see what the race off pit road absolutely looks like. Perhaps Ryan Jones fancies his chances of getting a bit of a jump. All look as though they pulled in their bosses quite nicely, and as they all take service here, we'll just keep an eye just to see who gets off first.
You'll probably find that Dave Douglas and Aaron Wilton will be slower getting out of the lane, as they were involved in the accident on the back straight that brought out the caution. So Aaron Wilton ran wide, and you had Dave Douglas hit him in the back, and both sustained damage.
Right, okay, and in that race off pit road, it was very, very, very close indeed between Jason Martin and I believe it might have been Tristan Koch there, but Koch has had to fall all the way back down behind. He seemed to get out right alongside Jason Martin, but has had to drop a little bit further back now and seems to have settled down into 4th place and is now moving out the way for a couple of other guys as well, so probably all not exactly as it seems in that particular run there, and looks as though Jason has retained his lead, and all the top positions at the very least look fairly well unchanged, except for possibly Raymond Yeager, who has dropped down.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what Ryan Jones can actually do on a longer run, because Martin has a way as well of lulling his rivals into a sort of false sense of security. He makes them think that they're more competitive than they are, and that'll make them push a little bit harder, wear their tyres up a little bit more, and then he'll hit the gas again and start to disappear again. So I found he brought it out to about 1.9, and then it just sort of stayed there. So it may be making Ryan get his hopes up a bit more than what chance he's actually got, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you never know until we get a nice long green flag run where we don't know, but we do know, of course, how good Jason Martin is on those long runs. And I think he just sort of gets to a stage where he's got a big enough gap that he feels comfortable, and then just basically starts to match the pace of the guy behind, whatever that pace may be. Ryan's been improving. Ryan Jones has been improving every single race. He did most of last truck season, obviously become a regular competitor in this one as well, and he's been improving all the time as well. So perhaps we may have found somebody who can run with Jason on the long runs, but we won't know until we actually get the opportunity to see that. Looking a little bit further down behind those guys, we've got Michael Skurlock sitting there in third position now, with Matty Clute there in fourth position, and we've got Purnell and Callow, the two championship leaders, there in fifth and sixth, still running together, absolutely inseparable so far this season. Then going back behind them, we've got Kai Sloggett, last night's ANZCAR winner Damon Stockton sat there in eighth position, then Tristan Koch we mentioned earlier on, and Raymond Yeager there rounding out the top 10. So still a few guys a bit further back in the pack that I'll be expecting to see move forward, but once this restart happens, I'll get the opportunity to do just that.
Yeah, maybe Purnell will be able to work with Skurlock and maybe get up the inside of Jones, but yeah, Purnell definitely not want Martin to get away. He would like to be running with him at the front.
And that looks like certainly what they're going to try to do at the very least. Martin has got a very good jump, but Skurlock is looking down the inside of Jones. The way this track's been running so far, I would not be at all surprised if Skurlock manages to take that P2 away from Jones. And it looks as though he's done that. Jones has also got Clute for company there. And Purnell hasn't really got away that well at all. He's kind of sitting there behind those guys still in the fifth position. Callow on his tail as ever. And the rest of them sort of following them through now. So as they all just sort themselves out, it looks like it hasn't really taken them too long to go single file, just tidy themselves up. It is, of course, still very early on in this race, and just to see what potentially Michael Skurlock has got, although he is coming under pressure from Jones. Jones coming straight back at him one lap after losing his second position in exactly that spot. He looks just about ready to take that back down the inside. And we've got Tristan Koch down there just exiting the pit lane as well, so I'm not quite sure what's happened with him, but he has dropped a lap.
Jackson Callow there looks like he's got some performance as well. He's been able to keep with Purnell no problem, and I think he's just sitting there watching at the moment, because as you can see up in front of him, there's going to be a bit of a battle there, and you don't know whether, what sort of opportunity that can present itself. I mean, potentially we're looking at 3 wide, possibly even 4 wide with Purnell up the inside, but here we go.
Well, I think Purnell's had enough of waiting, hasn't he? He's gone straight down there. He's underneath Clute, he's underneath his teammate, and he's just going to have to back out of it, probably because Ryan Jones is there and he can't drive through him. Jones just protecting that low line seems to be where he wants to run at the moment, but the other guys have managed to really just get a much better run than him, and he looks like he's going to drop from second all the way down to potentially 6th position there, and he has done. Everybody's gone around him around the outside, and now we've actually got Clute and Skurlock, former teammates of course, debating second place there at the moment, and Jason Martin just watching this all in his mirrors and clearing out. And I think that Purnell and Callow are actually starting to get a little bit desperate to get on terms with Jason Martin, but they are blocked off by other trucks at the moment. As we mentioned, can't drive over them, can't drive through them, they've got to find a way around.
Yeah, Alliance is working very hard together. They're working on that high line to try and get around the outside of those two, but it doesn't seem to be working just yet. Meanwhile, you've got Martin just loving every bit of this, playing into his hands, and you've got contact.
Yeah, Purnell and Callow getting right into one another as they go 3 wide around down the back straight one more time. It looks as though Callow's going to just think discretion's better part of valour there, and getting out of that so as not to cause an absolutely monumental accident with so many other trucks coming behind. We've got Skurlock up top, Purnell down low. I'd imagine that Skurlock isn't going to fight his team leader too hard, and that bottom line doesn't really seem to be playing into the hands of anybody who's trying to use it so much at the moment, especially across that front stretch, because it looks as though Skurlock and Jones have managed to go right around the outside of Purnell, much as we saw to Jones before, and now Jones is back up there, and it looks like Callow might have a measure of Purnell out there as well. And let's not forget Damon Stockton. He's riding high on a wave of confidence at the moment. He's right up there in that battle. The this battle which is stretching all the way down from second position all the way through to seventh. Although it does appear as though Clute's got a bit of a break on that gaggle of trucks now, which is sort of falling into the clutches of those guys coming up behind who've been running a bit more tidily.
Yeah, sometimes you really just want to, like, Clute will be happy that he's broken away from it, because sometimes as hard as you try, the harder you try, the worse it gets. Like, you just can't break out of that gap, and you know, you just end up in a battle lap after lap after lap, and you have to keep changing your line, and you end up, you know, compounding the tyre issue. You only have to look at Martin to see he's just taking that consistent line. He's able to look after his tyres, and so the situation just gets worse for his rivals.
Well, he's got the whole track to himself, doesn't he? You know, he can basically run any line he pleases. He can use the entire track, be as gentle on his tyres as he wants to be, while all these guys are fighting in behind. I'd be interested to see what happens when those two Alliance trucks can actually hook up and really start getting that draft working together. But they're running side by side at the moment, which isn't doing them any good. And they've actually lost out to Clute, Jones, Callow and Stockton. So they're in there now. They're coming under pressure from Raymond Yeager as well. So certainly not the performance in this round here at Michigan as we seen prior at Indy and Vegas over the last couple of weeks, and it looked as though Yeager got a little bit loose there. He's gathered it up, and it looks as though we've got Lee Granty in the 27 making a big move down the inside there of, I believe it's Kai Sloggett and one of the possibly Ricky Cornwall in there as well. So he's making inroads forward.
Jones genuinely looks like he's got good pace. I mean, he's caught Clute again. He's taking Callow with him. I think both of those guys are ones to watch. I mean, Martin's obviously looking very, very good as usual, but those two definitely look quick.
Well, that's one of the things we sort of wondered coming into this one, isn't it? Is when was Jason Martin going to fire? Because he hasn't really fired so far in this series, and you know, even for him, he's sitting there in third in points. It's not like he's had a bad season by any stretch, but I think that most of us would have suspected that he would have taken a victory in at least one out of the first two races, such as his dominance been of ANZCAR competition really since its inception. So the fact that he hasn't won a race yet in this season was a surprise to many, and just looking out on the way that he's actually performing tonight really does appear as this is maybe the Jason Martin of old who's just getting out the front and cruising to a victory, but we'll know in a little under 40 laps.
Yeah, tracks like Charlotte and Michigan and all of these, you know, not the super speedways, not the short courses, but these sort of tracks, he's very, very difficult to beat. He's very consistent, and he's proving that again. The other guys are going to have a fight on their hands to catch him, but you know, another caution and they're all back together again, and that's what's important, and we're bound to have another one.
Yeah, I'd imagine we definitely would. I mean, looking at the way that some of these guys are running sort of further back in the pack, the battle for second is still raging as white hot as it was ever since the drop of the green flag off that last caution. And even looking further back, there are some other guys that are really getting amongst it. The battle for the back end of the top 10's really heating up as well. And there are drivers all over the place and all taking different lines and swapping sides and all the rest of it. Michigan allows you to do that. It's a nice wide racetrack, but pretty soon somebody's going to try and take it 3 or 4 wide, where probably the situation doesn't really allow for it, and we may have another caution come out. But until then, we're going 3 wide for second place at the moment. Jones has got just slides up in front of Callow, drops to the bottom. I think he realised how close that was getting, and as we've seen, the guys who run on the apron generally get gobbled up by those on the outside, and that's exactly what's happening as I believe it's Clute and Callow there running side by side. They are still 3 wide through turn 1, still 3 wide through turn 2, and will probably remain 3 wide as we come out onto the back straight. How long can they keep this going for? Not that much longer, as Jones just slots in behind those two, and now it's actually I believe it's and we have got another caution. We have got another caution coming out.
I'd like to see Callow get to clear air, actually. I think he has actually got quite a bit of pace. Whether it's more than Jones, I'm not sure, but I think he might be a good challenge for Martin in clear air.
Okay, it looks as though Tristan Yelland went around in that last accident, and that's actually been what's brought the caution out, but it looks as though he's got up and going again, carrying a little bit of damage. I think that Jackson Barry may have even got a piece of that as well. They certainly were running very close together on track, and I believe that quite possibly may have even been Walsh involved in that as well. So a little bit of issues further back in the pack, but as you predicted, James, everyone's now going to bunch back up. We'll probably see them all come to the lane again, such has been the way that they've been operating so far tonight, and we'll watch them into pit road and see who comes out on top.
Well, we know cautions breed cautions, and especially when you've just had a long run and you come out on fresh tyres, you get full of confidence. All of a sudden you've got all this grip and you want to make the most of it as soon as the green flag drops, and you want to make those positions because you know how hard it's been for you to pass those people. If you can make up some ground, you know it's going to be hard for others. So people will probably be even more aggressive off this next restart than they were before.
All right, so just watching these guys come down to pit road at the moment. Clute sitting in there behind Jason Martin, with Callow there in third, right on Clute's tailgate. Just watching Jason now to see how well he hits his marks. Just trying to keep an eye on some of the others as well. They're spread so far out that the leaders are actually come from all over this grid. So we've got guys sort of pitting up and down the lane, but it looks as though everyone's hit their marks quite well. And I think that Lee Granty has actually just come out. I'm not sure if he took a short stop or if he just drove through and perhaps even missed his pit bay, because he doesn't appear to have stopped at all, and he's back out now behind the pace car.
Number 23 overshot his box and has lost a lot of time, so he's going to drop back.
Yeah, that would be the number 23 of Raymond Yeager, I believe. So it looks as though everything stayed pretty much status quo as they come out of the pits. Martin, Clute, Callow and Jones. And just while we are here under caution, we might just take a quick look at the championship points going into this one. We didn't have too much of a chance to have a look at that before the race, just due to our late start. But we will just bring up those points now and have a very quick look at those. So as we mentioned, Chris Purnell on 90 points. He is out the front at the moment as a benefit of having won the first two races of this season. He's only 4 points ahead of Jackson Callow, and there's only 4 further points back to Jason Martin there in third position, your race leader tonight. Jason Williams, Rookie of the Year so far, sitting there in 4th position on the points table, and right now sits a little bit further down than that in this race in 18th position. And then we've got Matt Danson, Ryan Jones, Will Barrington, Brett Doherty and Dave Douglas rounding out the top 10 on 62 points. So that's how they sit going into this one. I guess as this race shakes out, that's all going to change once they cross the finish line at the end of tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be unfortunate for Dave's chances. Dave Douglas, he lost quite a bit of ground at the start after that incident, so he's going to have a long race on his hands to make up that difference.
Yeah, and Dave's actually carrying a fair bit of damage on the front of that truck as well. Front end is all creased up. I can't imagine that his front grip, front downforce, the cooling, everything is going to be an issue for him. So he's not going to have the pace that he had earlier on in this race, and that's going to be a bit of an issue for him trying to make his way back up. Rear end of the truck looks pretty clean, but definitely carrying some fairly heavy damage on the front of that one. So I guess he's really just hoping for a bit of attrition amongst the other guys, see what he's able to make of it. But back at the front, we can see who has got a completely clean truck, no signs of any damage on that whatsoever. Jason Martin, as ever, leading that pack, as we mentioned, ahead of Clute, Jones, Callow, Granty and Purnell. But I don't think that Granty's actually still sat there in the 5th position as he was when they crossed the line last time. We're just waiting for all the positions to update, because I believe he actually, as mentioned, he missed his pit box, and I think he had to come in again. So he's actually dropped all the way to the back of the field, and we'll actually see where he's sitting when everybody crosses the line and the positions update. But he is way towards the tail of that field again. He'd actually made pretty good headway, moving all the way up. He was sort of around about the top 10. But this is going to drop him all the way back down that order again. So he's got to do it all again. There's no other words for it.
I think you'll have Jones and Callow, if they're smart about it, they won't want to be getting into a battle with Clute, because he seemed to be the most aggressive of that group. If they can clear him, I genuinely believe Callow's got some good pace. I think he might even be quicker than Jones. So he'll definitely want to clear him and not be getting involved in a battle again where he's going to risk getting into an incident. It would be good to see Callow in clear air, because we've seen what performance Jones has, and I think over longer runs Callow's actually the most competitive, because you had Clowett starting to drop back at the end of that run, and that's when the battle really started.
All right, so we are 1 to go now until the pace car pulls off, and I've just been watching while you're speaking there, James. Jason Williams has he's right at the back of the field, and he's actually ducked into the pits. He's taken tyres. He's back on the track now. I'm not sure if that's a strategic move from him, whether he's he's calculated that from here he has enough fuel to get to the end, or something like that, just in case we run green the whole way. But I'm not sure he's going to have an opportunity to catch up to the back of his pack before we go green. But he's certainly going to be on the freshest tyres of everybody, although not by much, because they have only been running around in the pace car and not really wearing themselves too much. So just coming down to the restart now. The pace car will pull off in just a moment, and the field will come under the control of Jason Martin once again. Expect him to go reasonably early, I imagine. He's just holding the field up at the moment, and he goes now, and Clute has got a semi-okay sort of start, but Callow is right on his tailgate at the moment. Ryan Jones trying to make that apron work. That hasn't worked all night. That hasn't worked for him again here. And then, of course, we've got Purnell sat there in behind those as well. And looks as though Ricky Cornwall and Staunton in those two DPR Benmax trucks just waiting to take advantage of that. So, they've just boxed Clute in, actually. Ryan Jones has got underneath Clute, managed to pull right up in front of him. Callow looks like he's going to take down the inside, and Clute was very aggressive, really pushing up on the back of the tailgate of Ryan Jones's machine there. And they're all still running 2x2 by 2, but as you predicted, James, they've really put an effort, the two of them, that is Callow and Jones, into clearing that Clute, and it looks as though they've actually taken Purnell with them.
Yeah, well, Clute actually got a really bad start, and he bulked Callow really bad, and he had to lift off the throttle and then get back on it, so he was fortunate. Callow was fortunate not to drop back further. So now if he can work with Jones, and the two of them have been fast, over the run, provided they don't get caught up in the battle with Clute again. I mean, you've got Purnell there who's going to be fast behind them. Those three can work together to catch Martin. Really have a race.
Yeah, let's see how smart they're actually going to be about it. Just sort of looking behind those guys as well. There's guys running 3 wide. I think Raymond Yeager's involved in that. I think Stockton's there. I think that's Skurlock down there will be forced onto the apron as well. Those guys all running 2x2 and 3x3 in some cases. Matt Danson hanging out there as well. He's in 11th position at the moment, having worked his way up from the back of the field, and just looking as though he's getting a little bit more aggressive than he might have been at the start of the race, really looking to make a move and get himself a little bit further up to where he believes he deserves to be. So just stringing out into a little bit of single file. Those are really the only guys still battling at the moment, but jumping back towards the front of the field, it's as you predicted, James. Jones, Callow, Purnell in that 3, breaking away from Clute at the moment. It looks as though Cornwall's actually got there ahead of Clute as well. It looks as though we may actually have Kai Sloggett going down the inside of him again. Clute dropping like a stone at the moment.
Yeah, they are going like a train, like they are really homing in. Martin will be watching that, and if these guys are smart about it and they don't get up in their own battle, they could actually be battling for the lead instead of battling for second miles down the track. So they need to just be patient. As hard as that is, I know myself, it's extremely frustrating, but you've got to just be patient about it and work together. And yeah, Clute, he's very aggressive, but if anything, it's costing him more time than anything. I mean, he's about to be challenged by Stockton at the moment, so he might get caught up in another battle there, which doesn't do you any favours whatsoever.
All right, so Jason Martin has pulled out 0.2 of a second on Ryan Jones on that particular lap. So these guys, if they're going to make this work, they've really got to tuck up behind one another and really get this draft working. It's not the way it is at a super speedway where the draft is absolutely everything. It's not like they're holding it wide open the entire way around and just relying entirely on the draft, but the draft can certainly help, especially down the straights, and there are very long straights here. It's a 2-mile oval here at Michigan, and these 3 running together, you'd expect to be able to chase Jason down. And we're just going to have a look at what the gap is as they come over the line. It looks as though the top 2 of that group have actually managed to gap Purnell as well, and Jason has extended the gap, but not by much, only by 0.034 of a second. He's extended the gap on that lap. So whether that's Jason doing what we talked about earlier on, he's comfortable comfortable with that lead and he's happy where he's running, or perhaps that really is all the pace that he has at the moment. But we know that Callo's got a lot of pace in that truck. I expected Purnell to be quicker at this stage of the race. I really didn't expect to see him falling off the battle of these two in front, but Ryan Jones having an absolutely fantastic run as well and showing he absolutely deserves that to be running up there in the top two, and looking like it might become the top three in a moment because Callo's just dropped to his inside.
Yeah, there goes Callo. I still think over a long run he is the outright second fastest truck here. You never know, he might be able to run with Martin, but I think overall he might just be a little bit kinder to his tyres than Jones. It'll be interesting now that he's ahead. That's given Purnell another bit of a sniff, but provided Jones doesn't keep fighting him, which it looks like he's going to, he could actually start reeling in Martin.
Yeah, they really need to be working together, don't they? And just while you were speaking there, James, we had Matt Danson on a three wide run in between with Stockton and Skurlock, and he's actually got that done. He's just sitting underneath Skurlock there at the moment, and they're homing in on the back of Matty Clute now. And back there as well, we've got Kyle Stevens in the 442. He's making his presence felt for the first time this race, really getting up there amongst the back end of the top 10 and really threatening for a spot inside that top 10, which would be a great result for him if he's able to pull that off. Just as I say that, he just sort of runs up into the side of Stockton. They'll get away with that and live to fight another day, but it has slowed him down. It looks like it might be Stacey Walker there just making a move now down the inside of Kyle Stevens, and it'll be his turn to get up and have a little bit of a nibble at the back end of the top 10, see if he can get that place.
With the way the field's spread at the moment, other than a couple of cars sort of battling, we might be in for a long run here, so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you've got Callo there slightly gapping Jones. It'll be interesting to see who's best on their tyres. Those in second, third and fourth, they've all gapped. There's like a distinctive gap now between them and the rest of the pack, and then obviously the gap to Martin. So I think at the moment it looks like one of these four guys is going to be challenging for the win.
Yeah, so just having said that as well, it looks as though Jones may not have the long run pace to run with Callo, and the only reason I say that is he has fallen off the back of Callo just a little bit at the moment, and he's also got Chris Purnell for very close company. Purnell looking underneath him. Jones looked like even potentially throwing the block there, drove his truck right down onto the apron almost, and Purnell forced to have a look up the outside, which he hasn't got that done. I'm not sure that this early in the race it's time to be throwing blocks, but he certainly dived for the inside of the track there when he saw Purnell stick his nose out. I shouldn't imagine though, it looks as though Purnell's definitely got the pace now to get up there, and we're under caution again. We've got two spinning to the inside on the back straight. Just having a look to see who that is. It looks like Granty's involved. Can't quite see who the other one is at the moment. Matt Hunter is the other one involved in that. So unfortunate for those guys. Looks as though they've just come together. Just going back to have a look. It looks as though Granty's tried to get up the inside of Hunter. He's run too high. He hasn't managed to get that done, and he's just actually turned Hunter, and they've both spun down onto the apron there at on the back stretch. So no harm done. They haven't really hit anything, I don't believe, but they've certainly brought out the caution here, and we'll get all bunched up again.
Hunter doesn't look like he's sustained a lot of damage there. His truck still looks pretty good, so fingers crossed it'll still have plenty of good aero and he won't lose too much in a straight line.
Alright, just going back there to have a bit of a look at Granty's truck as well. He's got a small ripple on the left front of that Chevy Silverado, but doesn't look too bad. It's certainly nothing like what Dave Douglas is carrying, for example. But yeah, it looked as though he's just tried to get underneath Hunter there, and he just hasn't been able to keep it down, and he's decided not to back out of the throttle either and just run straight up into him. So unfortunate for Matt Hunter in particular, but for both of those guys. And now we're just watching them all come down pit road, and Jason has led everyone down pit road again, nobody wanting to take that gamble of staying out and gaining any track position. They're all diving straight for the lane. So we'll see what comes of these particular stops as they all run down towards their respective pit bays. Martin just making a move in there now. Jones making a move in there as well. Callow and Purnell already in their base. Jason overshot. Close. Jason overshot his box and had to chuck it into reverse. This is what we were talking about. He has been a bit wobbly on his pit stops so far this season, and I think we might actually see Jason surrender the lead here with that little mistake. It seems how fast these other guys can get out. Here comes Callow, Jones. Oh, it's going to be so close. It looks as though Jason, by the absolute skin of his teeth, has managed to keep that lead. And I think I'm right in saying that we've got Chris Purnell's made his way up into P2. So great pit exit from him. He really managed to get the hammer down, smoke those bags up, and actually get out ahead of both Jones and Callow. Easiest 2 positions he's made all night.
I was keeping an eye on Callow's entrance into pit lane because I noticed he was very aggressive coming in. He wanted to be right on Martin's bumper. But he must not have had the greatest stop because he did lose quite a bit of time there through the stop, so he's dropped 3 positions.
Yeah, so he's dropped those couple of positions there, and he's Kai Sloggett's also made a pretty good stop there. He's right up there behind this leading quartet that we've been talking about for most of the night. Ricky Cornwall, he's just got this way of always being there, doesn't he, Ricky? Just this season, he's always sort of been there or thereabouts. And then we got Matty Clute, who did fall down a little bit from that I guess the last period that we've seen of green flag racing, drop down to 7th position. And he sits there at the moment, so it must have been so close. Must have been so close for Jason coming out of the pits. But as you say, yeah, Matt Danson is up there in 9th position, so he's made a good few spots as well. Excellent job from him. We'll see how high he can get.
Yeah, he's steadily been making progress. I've been watching him a bit, and even after the last stop, he made a lot of positions through that stop, and it made me think maybe he didn't pit, but I think he must have. I think everybody's been pitting every round so far. There's been too much of a gap between cautions to not do that.
Yeah, no one's been really adventurous to try and see how they go. I think we might see that if there's a caution towards the end of the race. Some of the guys back in the back might just take that gamble, not make a stop, start at the front, and just see how well they can sort of keep their position. If they can just try and lose, they'll know they'll lose positions, but perhaps they'll lose fewer than falling all the way back to where they were. So if you are at the back of the pack and there's a caution with 10 laps to go or something like that, it may be even worth staying out if everybody pits. Could be worth a gamble, but at the moment everyone playing it very safe and coming down to the lane every single time that there's been a caution so far.
Dave Douglas is still in 12th despite his damage. Every single stop he'll obviously be trying to get it repaired more and more, but to hold 12th is a good effort.
Yeah, it's a fantastic effort. I mean, he's probably carrying more damage out there than any of the other guys. So for him to be sat up there in 12th position is a very, very good effort, considering the way the front of that truck looks. I imagine it's probably got some cooling issues as well. Just the way the grill and the air intake is a bit bent up there, won't be getting the air that it would have got normally, and won't be channeling the air that it would under optimal scenario. So, all right. So just as they line up there, it looked as though I thought that Purnell had gotten out of the pits in front of those guys, but it looks like he's had to redress that, and he's sitting there in 3rd at the moment. Ryan Jones still hanging on to that 2nd place, and we'll start on the front row just alongside Jason Martin. But that so far tonight, it's almost been a bad thing. It's almost like the inside rows always got away very well, and the outside rows just got a little bit stuck. As far as getting away, it can be very difficult because you can't be in front of the leader when the green flag flies, otherwise you get a penalty. So you've got to make sure that you're actually behind the nose of the leader, and you've got to look for when the leader jumps. And the leader can jump whenever he wants after that pace car goes in. So quite often, if you're trying to look out the side of your cockpit, try and line yourself up, trying to look at when he goes, it's the hardest place to restart on the leading the outside row for sure.
Cornwall has just disconnected, so that's unfortunate for him tonight.
That's very unfortunate. He was having a great run, so I'm not sure why he's decided to call it a night, but anyway, that's what's happened. And he'll be taking no further part of that truck having gone behind the wall. But these guys here, obviously all these guys you see out there on the track at the moment, still very much in it. And I would expect just the way at which these trucks have started off tonight, that we will see Purnell slotting the 2nd place, but we'll see what Jones can do. Looks as though Martin has gone and Purnell has predicted, has managed to overlap Ryan Jones and should cross the line, having taken that second place, and he's going to get after Martin. And now it's just going to be a case of seeing when the next fastest truck, I suppose, that we've seen so far, Callow, he's actually stuck on the outside of Sloggett at the moment, not where he wants to be at all. He's going to want to clear him, clear Jones, and get right up on the back of Purnell, his championship rival at the moment, of course. So he's really going to want to get up and make a race of this, but they're jostling back in the pack. Damon Stockton now having a look at the inside of Sloggett. Sloggett's had to, it looks like he may have even had to check up a little bit in that battle with Callow, because he's lost a lot of momentum, and Danson's sitting in there as well behind one of the Alliance trucks. I believe I think it's actually Wilton in there right behind Stockton at the moment.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, Danson's still steadily making progress. Like that high line there is definitely working for him. He just passed another car, so he's every single stop he's gaining on the leaders, and I think he's actually quick enough to run with that top four, which seems to be dominating the race so far.
Yeah, just watching him, taking that outside line, it seems to be a bit of an odd one, this repaved Michigan circuit, because you see the guys who've dropped too low, they haven't been able to get it working, but the guys who've run, you see some guys being able to pass on the bottom and some guys that can't. Danson seems to be able to pass everywhere at the moment. He's just knocked off another one, and he's just going to be pulling up. He's probably just going to be throwing a bit of a block on those two guys behind him to stop them getting a run. But he's going to start working away once he's able to actually extend on those guys behind, which with his pace he should do. The pace he's shown so far, he should be able to get up on Sloggett. Once he gets past Sloggett, and you imagine, with all respect to Sloggett, you'd expect Danson to be able to knock him off with the pace that Danson has shown in this race so far. Then he's clear on the leaders, and it's going to become a five-way battle for this race. Just watching Callow at the moment, he's homing in on the back of Jones. Jones seems to get away pretty well and then sort of suffer for a couple of laps before that pace comes back on for him. So Callow seems to be going through a bit of the opposite. He's right there on the back of Jones, barely fit a cigarette paper between them at the moment, and Jones just hugging to the inside there while Callow runs to the outside, and he hasn't been able to get that move done, but you get a sense that it's going to happen soon.
Yeah, I think Danson and Callow, both of them are very quick on fresh tyres, whether they've got the confidence to push early where the others are a bit more conservative. But Callow just seems to be quick throughout the entire stint. It'll be interesting if Danson can clear Sloggett, if he can catch those top four. It'll be interesting what he's like over a longer run. But so far, other than Martin, who's obviously led the whole race, Callow over a long stint looks to be the second most competitive. But Purnell looks pretty well positioned now as well.
Yeah, Purnell was quiet for quite a number of laps, wasn't he? Sort of sitting there at the back of that top five, not really making too many inroads, but he's certainly gone now. He had that great pit stop which jumped him up a spot, and now he finds himself ahead of his main championship rival Callow. Callow now just still trying to have a bit of a look there at Jones. He can't necessarily find a way to get it done, but behind them, as predicted, we see Matt Danson going to the inside of Sloggett and quite comfortably getting up there to take that fifth place away from Sloggett. And I imagine now he's going to get to work homing in on the back of the two in front of him.
The issue that Callow has now as well is that Jones is going to be very aggressive, as we saw before, defending his position. He's new to the series. He's got a point to prove. He doesn't want to give anybody any quarter, so passing him is probably going to be harder than passing any other guy at the moment, as he's having run now.
Having said that, he gets a great run off of two and manages to get down underneath Jones. You'd expect Jones to try and fight back around the outside, but that move is done. So Callow's actually cleared Ryan Jones now and is going to try to go to work on the back of Purnell. But don't forget what we saw earlier on when Callow got past Jones and Jones made a move straight back on him. So expect to have to see a little bit of defending taking place here. They run right down to that white line as they cross the line again. And looks as though Jones is going to have another look down the inside of Callow. Callow does not want this at all. He's got second place in the championship. He's working on trying to get into the lead, and he does not want to be battling with Ryan Jones at the moment, but that's where he finds himself nevertheless, just keeping up his momentum around the outside. Jones is going to have to slot in behind him again, and Danson is just bringing that train that he he was just fighting with is actually bringing them with him as they close right up on the back of these two that have been battling. And pretty soon Ryan Jones is going to have a mirror full of Matt Danson, Sloggett going with him, and I think just slotted in behind those guys as well. We've actually got Stacey Walker, and he started 30th position, and now he's up in 7th place. So he's running that quite well, and there's any number of these guys can actually be challenging for those top 3 coming into this one, I think.
Yeah, well, by having that battle that they just had then, they basically brought Danson into play. They lost time to Purnell, and they brought Danson right into their own battle. So now Danson's going to have a go at Jones. Callow will be relieved that he's sort of got a bit of a gap there, because now he can sort of leave him behind and try and catch back up to the lead group. But yeah, those battles, Jones obviously very fast, doing a really good job, but there's probably a little bit less experience there than the other guys, and on what's going to cost him time and whatnot.
Yeah, although he's sitting right up there at the moment, and some of the more experienced guys. I mean, we're talking about Matthew Clute earlier on, and he's dropped all the way down to 17th position after starting this race in 2nd. So it's not gone well for him tonight. With all his wealth of experience, he's not been able to. Well, he's got a bit of a fight back to put on, put it that way. But just having a look now, we were mentioning Stacey Walker a little bit before. He's pulling up on the inside of Kai Sloggett, and while that's happening, Matt Danson is actually putting a move on Ryan Jones. And it looks as though he's got that done. I'm not sure if Jones has burned his tyres up a little bit in that fight with Callow, but he certainly dropped off Callow quite quickly, and now Matt Danson has passed him, and will have his eyes absolutely laser beam set on the back of Callow's truck. And Jason Martin sitting there at the moment, 1.2 seconds, almost 1.3 ahead of Chris Purnell, who are just holding station at the moment.
I can sympathise with Jones because, obviously he knows he's been up there battling for the lead. He's been up there with Martin, he's been up there with Purnell, and it's so hard to be wanting to hold that position, and you've been running with those guys ahead of you and you want to stay with them for the whole race, but you can fall into that trap so easily of pushing harder and harder and harder and then just killing your tyres. So it's a very, very easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's a big balancing act, isn't it? And something that's quite particular to not just oval racing but stock cars, because they are quite big and heavy, and they don't really, they're not nimble like a Indy car or anything like that you might find. So it's not just particular to oval racing. It tends to be something that's quite particular to stock cars, the way that they use their tyres. Even on a road course, the way that they use their tyres and the way that the wear occurs and the way that happens is so much different to most other race cars. It can take a lot of guys a lot of time to actually make that transition if they're more used to the road side of things. And we're under caution again. Not sure who's actually brought this one out, but we'll have a quick look. It looks as though Tristan Yellen's a fair way behind the pack. He may have actually been involved in that one. Okay, it may have actually been Tristan. Tristan Koch might have been involved in that one. I think potentially Bradley Cheney as well, perhaps. Yeah, Cheney, Hunter, Granty, Bonford, quite a few of them have actually all been involved in that one. So yeah, a bit of a mess for them unfortunately, but they will get fixed what they can get fixed. It's actually sprayed a few of them right across the track. So just, yeah, they'll gather that back up, but unfortunate for them, there's been quite a few guys involved in it. It's going to take them a bit of time to get the necessary repairs and get back on with the racing.
Yeah, 3 wide just didn't work from there. The car lowest down just squeezed up the top two and gave them nowhere to go, and that was the end of it for them.
Yeah, unfortunate for those guys as they bring their damaged trucks back to the pits. And Koch doesn't look like he's carrying too much damage. Most of the guys who are sort of back around there don't look like they're carrying too much. Hunter's carrying a bit. But yeah, there are a few guys who are going to be struggling. Lee Granty carrying a lot more damage now, so he may not be able to continue. It looks like he's got a lot of damage on the front of that Silverado.
Callow will be desperate to clear Jones in these stops. He will not have to go through that. He won't want to go through that all over again, that's for sure. He's got a good exit, and it looks like he has got him easily. and he's gone straight
Oh,
to the lead.
hasn't he? He's gone straight to the front. So, Jason Martin not getting great pit stop that time either, and is sat back there now. I believe he's dropped to fourth behind Callow, Purnell, and Matt Danson, who, as you mentioned earlier on, James, has been making spots every single pit stop. And it looks as though Will Barrington is sitting out there behind the pace car at the moment. The current score is actually showing him leading the race, so I'm not sure if he missed his pits or whether he's elected not to pit. We've actually seen him try this strategy before. He tends to be one of the braver ones on strategy. Both Koch and Barrington, who run for that ballistic racing team, they do get quite adventurous with their strategies, and I have seen them play this card before where they try to stay out and try to gain a few positions that way. So we'll be able to see here if it looks like Barrington's going to drop to the lane. Is he going to stay up? And he does stay up, yeah, absolutely. So Will Barrington is going to take the lead of this race, sitting there on old tyres, of course, but adds a little bit of interest in there to find out what he's able to do now that he's actually got those positions.
Martin will be kicking himself. I've actually gone back and seen the replay. He did slide forward in his box, had to get reverse and go back into his box again. So I was surprised Purnell isn't actually in second place and dancing ahead of him. So that's, it's the second time that it's happened, so he's really got to pay attention to that.
Yeah, he has, as we mentioned earlier on, he's been a bit wobbly on his pit stops this season. I think he did the same thing last round, and he had a bit of an issue in the pits as well at the Brickyard 400 ANZCAR Cup race, which nearly cost him the victory there. So it's been a bit of a rough run in the pits for him, but he's certainly got the pace. But now we're going to actually have to see Jason overtake people as well, and he's going to be starting right behind Will Barrington, and Will Barrington's on those old tyres, so it could well be that we could see the outside line have the best of this restart, as we've got Callow and Purnell there on new tyres, not having to really deal with Barrington right in front of them as Jason does.
Yeah, Purnell will know everything you've just said and be wanting to make the most of that, because he'll be outside there behind Callow. He'll know about Barrington's situation, and he'll definitely want to try and make Martin's life harder. So it'll be interesting what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So just having a look as well, it looks as though Dave Douglas has taken that truck behind the wall. Won't be taking any further part tonight. So unfortunately for him, it looks as though his night is well and truly over.
The other one to watch off the start is obviously Danson, because he's been very quick on fresh tyres. So it'll be interesting to see what he's like with Purnell and with Martin in terms of pace. I think Martin's still got the measure of everybody, but not by a lot.
Alright, so coming one lap to go now. They're just going to file up 2 by 2. The lights on the pace car are out, and this is the restart that I'm looking most forward to of all the ones we've had so far, because we've got a mix of tyre ages up there at the front. Of course, Will Barrington having taken the very bold move to not pit and start this restart on the older tyres. Of course, it's lap 57. There is only 13 laps to go, so Barrington must think that he was running quite low down, and he will, if he can not fall back as far as he was before that caution came out, that will be the right strategy for him. He's not looking to win the race with this move. He's looking to fall a little bit less further back than he was in the pack at the time this caution came out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very tough for him, but like you said, even if he comes out one position better than what he was, it was worth doing. So it's going to make the guys like hell at the front, but he couldn't care less about all of them. He's worried about his own race, so it's good to give it a go.
Yep, glad to see someone doing it. It's absolutely not his problem. The races, the guys around him, that's their job on their fresh tyres and their supposedly faster trucks trying to get around him. So let's see what happened. The field now under Barrington's control, and Barrington's gone. He's got away well. He hasn't spun the tyres up, and he's just settling in there. Looks as though Callow's more concerned with holding Martin back, but Martin's got a pretty good run down his inside there, and he's going to try and keep that throttle pinned right around that bottom line, but Callow's definitely going to try and keep it around the outside. It doesn't look like he's managed to do that, and now that Callow's going to have to take a look at Purnell as well.
Callow really should have chopped him there. Like, should have very aggressively chopped him. And he's
well, speaking of being aggressive, he's going back underneath him again, going into turn 3. And it looks like it's actually got
Barrington actually drifts wide, and he's going to. He's going to.
Oh, that was so close, it's unbelievable. Now we've got 3 wide for the lead. We've got Martin, Purnell and Callow, the 3 fastest trucks for tonight, 3 wide down the straight, and Danson right in there behind him. He's going left and right, trying to actually find a hole to get through there, but the track is almost completely blocked, and Purnell just running down to the inside. You'd almost expect him to get that done just down there, but Callow's actually come out ahead, and now he's going to go side by side with Jason Martin for the lead all the way down the back straight. Ryan Jones making a really aggressive move down the inside of Purnell, who's actually fallen back behind Matt Danson now as well. So it's absolutely all happening, and we've got a bit of lap traffic going up ahead as well, but he's staying right down to the bottom. That looks like Tristan Koch just making his way back up onto the he's going back into the pit lane, but we're not too worried about that at the moment, with all respect to him, because Danson now making a big run for the lead as well, and who knows how this one's going to turn out. Callow defending for all he's worth, but Danson getting a great run there down the inside and just not quite able to get it turned down. Touch, and he spun Callow. Danson has spun Callow into Martin, into Purnell. They've all gone around and they're just piling into one another.
That is crazy.
Trucks have got everywhere.
Yeah, Callow will not be happy with Danson. Definitely not. Like, they're all obviously going for it. Not long to go. That was the move that could determine where you finish. But he will be very, very unhappy about that.
Well, just sort of re-watching the incident. And to be honest, I don't think Danson's done much wrong. I reckon Callow's actually come down on him. That's only my personal view. But I think that Callow has actually come down on Danson there. I think once he watches the replay back, he's a fairly experienced racer, a decent bloke, Jackson Callow. I don't think he might be a bit peaking now because of it, but I don't think he's going to have too much to say to Matt Danson after he looks back at that on the replay, because I believe he's definitely cut down on him.
Yeah, look.
Lot of trucks involved in that one. Lot of guys involved in that one. And just having a look at the guys here at the front now, Jason Martin's actually got away with that with a bit of damage, has got away with that, and he's sitting there in 3rd place. Matt Danson looks like he's just in the process of just regaining his position up the front. He's carrying a lot of damage on that truck now, but he is going to retain the lead, as the iRacing has actually deemed that he was in the right position when the yellow flag came out. So it looks like he's going to keep that spot. Will Barrington back up there to 2nd place at the moment, but I'm not sure. They might just be redressing that. Looks like Jason Martin will come through into 2nd place. A lot of damage on that truck as well. It seems even when guys like Danson and Jason Martin are wrecking, they still get the good fortune to come back up the front and not lose too many positions. But it's going to be, there's 9 laps to go, and by the time they come off this caution, there's going to be even less than that. There's only going to be about 6 laps to go, and with those guys with the damage,
pitted actually.
Yeah, with those guys carrying the damage that they're actually carrying, I wonder if some of the guys behind with a clean truck, I mean, there's a couple of guys in there who have very clean trucks, who might actually be able to get something done here. So just sort of looking back, I see a few guys in there. I think Stacey Walker's in there. I'm just waiting for the positions to update, but they're all diving to the pits anyway. So we'll just keep an eye on these guys just as they come into the pits to see what comes out of these pit stops.
Well, that was only 3 or 4, maybe 5 laps under green. So Skurlock really is in the box seat here. Like you said, there's only going to be a few laps to go after the caution ended.
And it looks as though Matt Danson and Kai Sloggett have both taken those trucks behind the wall. So a lot of guys going to the pits, but what have we got in terms of the positions at the moment? So just having a look, as you mentioned, we've got Skurlock up there in the lead. Now, just looking at his truck, he got through that pretty well unscathed. He's looking in really good shape, and he won the K&N race last week as well. So he's on a bit of a hot streak at the moment, just of his own. We got Close.
Yeah, Clute's 3rd.
Clue back up to third. Kyle Stevens, he sat there in second place at the moment, carrying a bit of damage there on that truck. Clue completely clean by the looks of it, maybe a little bit of damage on there, but not too much. Aaron Wilton there is in fourth place, and I'm just trying to have a look to see what's happened to Purnell. Purnell's all the way down there in 19th position. His truck is wrecked. He's sitting on pit road at the moment, and it looks as though Callow has not given up. They're both sitting there on pit road with similar amounts of damage. Neither one of those guys wanted to give up, because they're going to try and get all the points that they can get, because those guys got championships to think about.
Yeah, exactly. So this is definitely going to mix things up at the top of the championship. The points will change a lot.
All right, so light's still on the pace car, as you can see. So just rolling around for another lap here. So it's a completely different looking front of this race to what we've seen so far. We've got Stevens up there, we've got Aaron Wilton up there, Gavin Sadler, we haven't even mentioned him tonight. He's up there in 5th position, Nicholas Walsh there in 6th, Tristan Yelland 25th position to 7th. He's sitting there inside the top 10 at the moment. Hasn't got, his truck's not carrying too much damage either, so he's looking pretty good. And then right behind Tristan Yelland, a very bent up looking Ryan Jones, right ahead of Brett Douglas. So Ryan Jones probably won't have the pace that we saw from him earlier on in the race with the damage that he's now carrying. But certainly a very different looking front to this race than we have seen up until this stage. And you'd almost back Skurlock from here. Skurlock or Clute up there together. I reckon with the damage that Kyle Stevens is carrying, perhaps not. I'm not sure about Wilton. I'm not sure what pace he's got in that truck. He's been buried in the pack for such a long time tonight as well. So, yeah, well, they're still running around under caution, so we're not going to have many laps to go by the time we go green.
Yeah, one thing's for certain is Clute's going to go for it. So, yeah, we're definitely, provided we get the last few laps under green, it's going to be extremely aggressive and extremely close, and fortunately for us, extremely entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait for the end of this one. It's going to be really, really. I mean, we've had two great races so far in this championship. Sorry, just leading into this one. I don't think anyone predicted. I think at the start of this race we were looking at that top 5, weren't we, as being ones who could potentially win it. And now we've thrown that out the window, because just about all of those top 5 was completely eliminated. So now we've got, as we mentioned, we've got Skurlock leading this thing, and Stevens carrying a bit of damage on the outside of him, and then we've got Clute in behind. My personal view is it's going to come down to Skurlock and Clute for the victory. Don't count out Gavin Sadler either. We've got Gavin Sadler sat in there in the number 71 truck, that white and red Toyota Tundra, and we've also got Nick Walsh, who's had some pretty good results lately as well, sitting there outside row 3. So this is going to be fascinating. This is going to be a really, really good end to this one, and we're just going to come through. The pace car is going to dive in, and we are going to have 6 laps to go at that stage.
Yeah, I'll be watching Clute on the inside for sure. He'll definitely be one to watch.
Alright, so here we go. Pace car is ducking in. The field is now under Skurlock's control. You imagine he's going to go early. I would imagine he's going to go early. He does go pretty early. He actually gets a great jump. And Kyle Stevens really hasn't been able to get the power down as well as Clute behind him. Clute's got down there to the inside. As you predicted, James, it looks as though Clute's going to slot there into second place quite comfortably. And behind them, we've got Wilton and Sadler fighting it out. Stevens is just finding out how much pace he's actually got with that damage, and it looks like he's just about to get gobbled up by Sadler. Sadler just trying to hang in around the inside there. It looks like Stevens. Oh, Sadler's been turned. Sadler, I think, has moved up into Wilton, and they're going to go for it. There's going to be another yellow. The pack's going to try and avoid them, and it looks as though most of the pack has avoided them, and that was unfortunate. It really looked as though Sadler, and I could be wrong, but it looks as though Sadler actually may have moved up into Wilton. Not 100% sure.
Just watching that. That's exactly what happened, mate. So, yeah, it was an accident that could have been avoided.
Oh, just sort of looking at that as well, I think Wilton may have come off the wall a little bit too. Sadler's kind of holding his line and going straight. He has got a bit of a wiggle though, but Wilton was a little way off the wall. I think he was a bit further off the wall and actually came to the left at about the point that Sadler was going to the right. So
touch and go.
yeah, it's very touch and go between the two of them. One moved up, one moved down, and unfortunately, Kyle Stevens got caught by that, and it was a completely innocent party. He was on for a great finish, and that's all been taken away from him, unfortunately. So the hard luck stories continue tonight.
I was just going to mention, when we were watching that lead pack, I saw, multiple cars going 3 and 4 wide, and I'm thinking we're going to get another caution here because everybody's just going for broke. So
yeah, you have to, don't you? At the end of a race like this, just put your foot down and go, and what happens, happens. But that has shored up the lead for Michael Skurlock, who I'm just having a bit of trouble picking up on the track at the moment.
Yeah, he's behind the pace car on mine.
There he is. Yeah, he's up behind the pace car. So he's there, retains the lead of the race. He's got Matty Clute right there in behind him. And I think that the fact that Clute's going to be starting outside of Skurlock on the front row there, and the fact that Skurlock's going to be able to jump when he wants, when that pace car goes in, and the fact that I'm not even sure that we're going to go back green before this one's over. This one may finish under caution. It depends how many laps that pace car stays out for. So this race may already be Skurlock's. At the very most, we're going to get 1 lap to decide it, very much the same as we did last week.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be praying for it. He's probably had more than enough racing tonight. He's more than happy leaving it how it is.
Yeah, I think he'd be happy with it. I'd be absolutely stoked with it if I was in his position. So we'll see how it goes. And it's kind of hard to know what to say at this point because we don't know if we're going to get any more green flag laps or not. But we might actually just run down the fields as it sits at the moment. So, as mentioned, we've got Michael Skurlock there. He's in first place. Matty Clute, as mentioned, in second. Wilton in third. Ryan Jones in a fourth, which you'd have to say that he deserves after his performance tonight. Nick Walsh there in fifth. Matt Hunter, he's come up a long way to sixth position. Matt Danson still rolling around there in seventh. I actually thought I saw him disconnect there and take his truck behind the wall, but looks as though he's back in the race, sitting there in 7th position at the moment. Stacey Walker in 8th, Tristan Yellen still up there in 9th position, Will Barrington 10th. If you remember, he took that gamble to stay out on old tyres, and I can't remember where he was coming into that round of pit stops, but I think that's actually worked out quite well for him, especially if the race does finish under caution. He gets to keep that top 10 spot, and then going back from there, we've got Maxfield, Williams, Cheney, Brett Douglas, Mark Hagaratz, Kyle Stevens, Tristan Koch, and Gavin Sadler rounds out the drivers still in the race, the 18 drivers still in this race.
This round might be one at the end of the season that guys like Ryan Jones and Matt Danson look back to and be happy that they did. And, Skurlock, for that matter, they did actually finish. They did stay out of trouble and get good points, because these are the times you've got to capitalise on guys like Martin, Callow and Purnell, for example, all of which are out of the race. So it's a good result for them, especially for the newcomer Jones, who, despite having a bent-up truck, is still going to finish in 4th.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things about oval racing in particular, when you've got this style of racing that has cautions and things like that in there, is to never, ever, ever give up. Never give up, because you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, Matt Danson could have had a much better finish tonight. He did get involved in that. But he kept going, and he's going to finish in the top 10 most likely, you would say. And there's a few of the other guys that have been bashed and banged around all night, but they're still up there, and a lot of them getting on for very good finishes.
Looking at the laps to go, I mean, we're just coming around to the end of lap 67. We could potentially get one more lap.
I would love to see it. I think everyone watching would like to see it. I'm not sure Michael Skurlock would like to see it, but looks as though we'll see what the pace car does this time round. If the lights go out, then we're going to get some racing. And the lights have gone out.
And if you look at the two trucks at the front, both Clute and Skurlock have clean trucks. So both of them, it's really between them for the win. You look at the guys on the row behind them. and I don't think they're going to be a threat if you look at the damage.
I can't believe 2 races in a row we're going to get a green-white checker. I'm fairly sure it was last round that we had a green-white checker, if not perhaps it was Indy, but certainly 2 out of the first 3 races of this series is going to come down to a 1-lap dash to the line. And I agree with you, James. It's going to be between these guys. It's going to be between Clute and Skurlock. Guys behind, in my view, have got too much damage, but only they really know what the performance of their truck's going to be. Looking back there at guys like Walsh, yeah, his truck's looking pretty clean. He might be able to make some positions. He may even be able to get up to 3rd place. Hunter's in there as well, and he doesn't look like he's carrying too much damage. Danson's still in there. He's a bit bent up, but he's got a lot of natural speed anyway. So as we come round to this, as we come round to the line, where they're going to go 2 by 2 and they're going to drop the hammer for 1 final lap, and it's going to be a grandstand finish here yet again in this 131 WebRadio Truck Series.
Yeah, unfortunately, Skurlock can't rely on his teammate because he won't have the pace as we discussed. So yeah, it really is all about that jump, and if he can hold Clute behind him.
Yeah, he's got to go early. He has to go early. And he's just about to go, and he goes. He's gone, and he's actually dropped. Got a very good start there. It looks like nobody else has been able to get up alongside Clute there either, because of the damage that you've sort of mentioned there. But they're going 3 wide behind as everyone's trying to make the most of their positions. But Skurlock's got a big gap. Danson coming in between. Looks like they're going to go 4 wide back there as well. Don't even know. It looks as though Hunter's gone around. Hunter has gone around. I'm not sure if he was involved in that, but he's taken a couple of guys. I think he may have even taken his teammate Jason Williams away there, but just watching us. No, they won't throw a caution on the last lap, and Skurlock coming through. It looks like he's going to win this one. Clute doing everything he can to get up on the back of him, but it looks as though Skurlock is going to take the win. Clute right behind, and we've got Ryan Jones there in 3rd, Stacey Walker 4th, Matt Danson 5th, Nicholas Walsh coming home in 6th, and Wilton looks like he's going to come home 7th. So we might just take a little bit of a moment to go back there and try and dissect what happened in that last incident. Certainly very unfortunate for Matt Hunter, but not sure. We did see those guys looking to go 4 wide back there, and that very, very rarely works out well. So just having a look back at it at the moment, you can sort of Danson's tried to thread the gap between Walsh, who was low, and Hunter that was sort of mid-track, and he had Walker on his outside. I can't tell if there was any contact between Danson and Hunter. Perhaps there was. Perhaps, James, you're able to tell. I can't tell if there was actually contact between Danson and Hunter, but Hunter... Oh, looks like there was netcode.
Looks like Stacey Walker into the back of Hunter.
Yeah, but I'm actually talking about before that. I'm talking about when Danson came down the inside of Hunter, and it looks, on my view anyway, as though there was a fair bit of netcode in that, because you don't see them touch, but you see Hunter's car jink to the outside, right up into the front of Stacey Walker, and that started him rotating, and he's come down into Barrington, and then they've all started going everywhere. So that's very, very unfortunate for those guys. It looks as though Tristan Yellen involved in that too, and he's dropped all the way back down to 16th, and some of the other guys as well. So a tough night for them. But Michael Skurlock, our winner tonight, and lucky but well deserved, I think you'd call that.
Yeah, he definitely, he was there or thereabouts all night, just staying with that leading group, as we were discussing at the start of the night. You know, if these things happen, if you can provide, you know, if you can be there at the right time, if things go your way, you will get the result.
Yeah, so you've just got to be there to take the opportunities when they come up, and he certainly did that. And he was one of the very few to finish this race completely damage-free from what we could see visually anyway. So we might just run through your finishing positions, and then we might grab our top finishers up here for a bit of a chat. So we'll just grab those results now. And as mentioned, Michael Skurlock taking out this one. He becomes well, we're almost waiting for a non-alliance truck to win a race in this. All 3 races didn't fall to Chris Purnell tonight, who's won the first 2, but his teammate picked up the pieces, which is exactly why Michael Skurlock's on that team to get it done, to get that job done. So there we got Matthew Clute there in 2nd place, Ryan Jones there in 3rd, well-deserved finish. I don't think anyone would begrudge him that. He had the speed all night. Stacey Walker coming from 30th position up to 4th. Matt Danson from 29th to 5th. We followed his progress all night. He did get involved in a little bit tonight, but has managed to come away with that top 5. Nick Walsh there in 6th position, managed to hold on with that damaged truck. Aaron Wilton there in 7th, then back to Jason Williams, Todd Maxfield, and Will Barrington rounding out the 10. Going back a little bit further from there, we're going back to Bradley Cheney. I think that might actually be his best finish in ANZCAR competition there at 11th. Kyle Stevens running up the front for a little while before dropping back in a couple of instants there to 12th. Tristan Koch, Brett Douglas, Mark Hagerarts, Tristan Yelland, Matt Hunter and Gavin Sadler round out your finishes. And then we get to that long list of retirements. Jason Martin, Chris Purnell, Raymond Yeager, Jackson Callow, all of those guys, front-running guys, Damon Stockton, Kai Sloggett, Jackson Barry didn't make the end either, Kevin Bomford, Lee Granty, Dave Douglas, Ricky Cornwall, and Andre Heidstra and Tim Craighill, who did not take the start as far as I'm aware. So what we might do is we might grab our winner. We can see Michael Skurlock there in the green room at the moment, so we might just pull him up for a very quick chat. I'd imagine he will be a very happy boy indeed. Michael Skurlock, welcome to the Performance E streaming commentary booth, and I'm sure there isn't any other circumstance that you'd rather be here than the one that you're here in right now. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks fellas. Sort of got that win handed to me, but I'll take whatever I can get.
Well, as we were saying at the end of that race, I mean, you were there or thereabouts all night, and sometimes you've actually got to just be in the position to take the opportunities when they fall your way, and it certainly did. But I don't think anyone would begrudge the fact that you actually deserved the victory. Just talk us through the race, if you would.
Yeah, well, after qualifying, I thought I was going to go all right, and I don't know, I think it's just that the temperature was pretty hot on the track tonight and it's a bit slick. So you couldn't really run the low line as well as you could in a cool weather. So I went to the inside to make a few moves and got pinched down there. And once you get stuck down on the inside, you just can't get back to the outside again. And I think I lost probably 12 positions. Ended up back in 14th or something. Then pitted. I think I jumped 2 or 3 people off of the pit stop. I think there was another wreck, and then pitted again. I think I jumped an extra 1 spot maybe. And then that big wreck happened, and luckily I just managed to be the best dodger at the time. So it was a bit of luck.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it was definitely well deserved, and it's sort of almost been a bit of a purple patch for you at the moment because you're running very well in the ANZCAR race. You won the K&N race last week as well. So I mean, have you changed anything, or is there anything different that you're actually doing to bring these results, or is it just falling for you at the moment?
Well, definitely joining up with the Alliance team has helped, massively. Just having a good bunch of boys around, just helping out and just driving and having fun with everyone, just makes you better and better every single time. And that's what I can credit that to, definitely.
All right, absolutely brilliant to see that result for you guys anyway. So it actually, I'm not sure if you thought about this, but it means Alliance Motorsports are actually undefeated in this season so far. So that's obviously a good thing for you and those guys. Just before we let you go, is there anyone you want to give a shout to?
Yep, C21 Systems, Scrubbers Detailing, and just the Alliance boys for just everything they do to get us all ready for every race, and we take it all seriously, and you can see 3 wins in a row. It shows.
All right, fantastic stuff. All right, so that is our winner, guys. Michael Skurlock for the first time this season, and as we mentioned, rounds out a hat-trick of victories for the Alliance Motorsports team. So what we might actually do is bring up our second place getter, Matthew Clute, and James. I'm not sure if you want to have a talk to Matthew about the way his race ran.
Yeah, sure. How you going, Matt?
Matt Clout, welcome to the Performance E streaming commentary box, mate. How you going?
Oh, not too bad. How are you, Edward?
Very, very well. James is just going to have a very quick chat with you about the way your race went.
Yeah, no worries.
How you going, Matt? How did you find tonight? I noticed you were making some very aggressive moves and making some good passes, but how did you find your performance was overall?
Oh, yeah, it wasn't too bad. I scrubbed the wall a little bit after, I think it was after the first caution or something. I was feeling pretty good and just trying to keep my tyres there, and yeah, and then I hit the wall and I had to go in and fix it when the next caution come out. So I went all the way back, nearly to the back, and yeah, that's where I made myself back up to second.
Yeah, it was good to still be there to get those points like we were discussing with Michael, the winner. Provided you're still there and you're still thereabouts, you can get those results if something goes wrong. We noticed you did have pace early on in the stint and you were able to run with the top guys. It just seemed later on in the stint they were able to look after their tyres a little bit better. Was that due to your aggressive driving, or you just found that they just had the legs on you at that part of the stint?
Oh, no, I was just trying my own thing. It just sort of wasn't working for me.
Worked out in the end, though, for you, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's racing, though. Like Michael said he didn't deserve it. I said, yeah, you do, mate. It's racing.
Yeah, exactly. No, well done, mate. You can be happy with that, and it's only going to do good things for your championship chances, so that's a good result.
Yeah, I only just fixed my pedals the other week. My brake pedal's been playing up a lot, so I'm hoping that was due to my bad results lately.
It's all good, mate. Ed, have you got any further questions?
No, just to just basically congratulate you, mate. You've been having a bit of a good run at the moment, obviously with the ANZCARs, and also coming here in the trucks, getting another good result as well. So it appears that this hookup that you've had with Middle Finger Racing is really really paying dividends for you, and it's kind of leading to, I guess, a bit more of a build up of stronger results as far as you and the other guys are concerned. Is there just a different way of going racing of the guys in that particular team, or what do you actually credit this to, apart from fixing your brake pedal, of course?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a real advantage changing teams or anything like that. It's a little bit overwhelming at the start, but I don't know, it seems like a really, really good bunch of guys over here, very relaxed, and yeah, I like it.
All right,
Helping
excellent stuff.
I think, with my racing as well. That's what you need.
Excellent stuff. So everyone, that is Matthew Clute there. That is your second place getter tonight. Excellent job from him. What we might do is we might just grab up Ryan Jones, who is our third place getter tonight. I'm sure he's going to be very, very happy with that. We'll just grab him in for a very quick chat. Ryan Jones, Edward Foster here in the Performance E-Streaming broadcast booth. How are you going?
G'day, guys. Yeah, not bad. That was a wild finish to that race.
So third place, and after starting third as well, it wasn't like one of those guys who sort of took advantage of a lot of attrition or anything like that. You had the pace all night, and I think that we were talking about during the race where in each race you seem to be getting a little bit more of the complete picture for you. Just seems to be coming together in each consecutive event that we do. Is that the way you're seeing things? Just incremental improvement at the moment?
Yeah, probably got to agree with you there. I think it's a lot of experience too. Obviously, been on iRacing for 4 or 5 months now, maybe going on 6, and just getting that experience on track and starting to learn how to drive it all properly and get that extra 10th here and there, and just starting to come together, I guess.
And reading the traffic as well is obviously a massive thing that in this kind of racing you need to be able to do. You need to be able to almost spot trouble before it happens, and you seem to be one of those guys who was able to steer clear a lot of that trouble tonight, and also had a fair bit of pace to run up there with the leaders, although we did see as the stint sort of went on that perhaps you didn't necessarily have the tyre life as somebody like Purnell or Callow. So I mean, was that particularly true, or was it a tactic on your part to actually save the tyres, or what was sort of happening after about 5 or 6 laps of the stint?
I'm just terrible with my tyres. I use them up, and I've tried a bunch of things, and I haven't quite got to that stage where I can save the tyres like I want to, but I'm getting there. And kind of wish I'd read the traffic a bit better when that wreck happened.
Yeah, look, it's one of those things that caught out a lot of guys, caught out a lot of very experienced campaigners as well. So, yeah, you weren't alone, but at the same time, you did manage to keep the thing reasonably straight and bring it home in a very well-deserved third place. So, congratulations. Is there anybody else you want to give a shout-out to while you are here with everyone watching?
Just the guys over at Racing Oz helped me out, as always. Harvey Bay Autoglass, obviously our main sponsor. And got to thank Mum for staying off the internet so that I don't get net-coded throughout the race.
Brilliant stuff, mate. Brilliant stuff. There's nothing worse than those little glitches coming in and ruining your race. So big shout out to Mrs. Jones there as well. All right, so that was your third place getter, Ryan Jones. So we'll probably just let him go back down there to celebrate with the rest of the guys. So I guess just in summing up, James, what did you, I guess, first time in the commentary box actually seeing a race from this sort of perspective? How did you find it? I mean, was it really what you expected it to be in terms of the actual racing that we saw tonight, or what did you make of it?
I feel quite fortunate, actually. I think it was a really entertaining race. It was always close between 3, 4, 5 cars for the lead. You had a lot of people with pace at different points of the race. It is very impressive from Ryan, in particular, Ryan Jones, because, I sympathise with him about the tyres. I have that problem myself. The fact that he's only been playing 4 or 5 months and he's naturally that quick to start with. Once he starts sort of honing his skill and thinking about it more, he's going to be very, very good. So I expect to see him winning races in the not too distant future.
Yeah, one to watch, isn't he? I was surprised as you were to find out that he's only been taking part in iRacing for 5 or 6 months. I'm not sure what he did prior to that, but certainly that base level of speed is there for him to be very prominent in the future of ANZCAR. So another exciting talent coming up through the ranks of the truck series and so on, which is one of the functions that this truck series actually performs. Apart from being a great racing series in its own right, it does bring through those new talents, and there are quite a few exciting guys to watch coming through as well. I mean, we've got Stacey Walker there finishing in 4th position. He's not been around in ANZCAR for too long, but certainly making his mark on it. Tempo Motorsport's got to be happy with the run that he's put on. Looking further back, we've got Jason Williams just signed up with RCD, so he's not taken too long to put his stamp on it as well. And as we mentioned, Bradley Cheney, Kyle Stevens, solid finishes tonight as well. So many of the established runners didn't get to the finish and got caught up in all sorts of nonsense. But these guys actually managed to get through it all and post very respectable finishes. So well done to them. So I think we'll probably wrap it up there. We've obviously already been through and spoken to the top 3 and got their perspective on things. So I believe from here we've obviously got the Performance e-streaming. We've got Thursday Night Thunder coming up on Thursday, as the name suggests, from Watkins Glen. You'll be able to catch that all here on Performance e-streaming. And the next round of the ANZCARs on Sunday night will also be shown live right here. And then the next round of this series will actually be a 100-lap race from Charlotte coming up next Monday night. So make sure you join us from that one. If it's going to be anything like the first 3 rounds of this series, it's going to be an absolute cracker. So from me, my co-commentator James Foster, and Roger Clark, who's been working the cameras tonight, good night.